mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I mean not to be interested in outward things for their own sake, following after them with desire, but at all times to be intent on one's soul, living centrally in the inner being and its progress, taking outward things and action only as a means for the inner progress. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo.
Falling back always into the same stupidities. Grant that the mistakes recognized may never be renewed. Grant lastly that his actions may be the exact and sincere expressions of his proclaimed ideals. Seigneur, le monde t'implore pour que tu l'empêches de retomber toujours dans les mêmes stupidités. Permets que l'erreur reconnue ne soit jamais renouvelée. Permets enfin que les actions soient l'expression sincère et exacte de l'idéal proclamé.
सर्वभूतस्थमात्मानं सर्वभूतानि चात्मनि ईक्षते योगयुक्तात्मा सर्वत्र समदर्शनः यो मां पश्यति सर्वत्र सर्वं च मयि पश्यति तस्याहं न प्रणश्यामि स च मे न प्रणश्यति ॐ शक्तिः शुम्भदैत्यदलनी या सिद्धिलक्ष्मीश्वरा या देवी नवकोटिमूर्तिसहिता मां पातु विश्वेश्वरी द्युम्नेतपाद्यं शिवराय श्रीमीराय नमः। ॐ वरदा हस्ता च त्रिभुजा गौरदेहिका रक्तपद्मासनस्था च मुकुटोज्ज्वलमण्डिता रक्तकौशेयवसना स्मितवक्त्रा शुभानना नवयौवनसम्पन्ना चार्वङ्गी ललितप्रभा त्राहि मां सर्वलोकेशे संसारसागरा त्राहि मां सर्वपापघ्ने दुःखशोकार्णवा ॐ भजे भगवती भवदुःखहन्त्री ॐ श्रीमीराय नमः। ॐ सर्वाय सर्वेश्वराय सर्वपतये सर्वसन्तराय अरविन्दाय नमः अरविन्दाय नमः।
Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 3, Canto 4, The Vision and the Bone. An influence had approached the mortal range. A boundless heart was near his longing heart. A mystic form enveloped his earthly shade. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, book Essays Divine and Human, topic object of our integral yoga, continuation about the entire purpose of integral yoga as stated by Sri Aurobindo. Page 101. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, in brief, we have to replace dualities by unity, egoism by divine consciousness, ignorance by divine wisdom, thought by divine knowledge, weakness, struggle, and effort by self-contented divine force, pain, and false pleasure by divine bliss. This is called the language of Christ bringing down the kingdom of heaven on earth, or in modern language, realizing and effectuating God in world. Humanity is upon earth the form of life chosen for this human aspiration and divine accomplishment. All other forms of life either do not need it or are ordinarily incapable of it unless they change into humanity. The divine fullness is therefore the sole real aim of humanity. It has to be effected in the individual in order that it may be effected in the race. Humanity is a mental existence in a living body. Its basis is matter, its center and instrument mind, and its medium life. This is the condition of average or natural humanity. In every human being, there is a concealed abhyakta, the four higher principles. Mahas, pure ideality in Vijnana, is not Vyahruti but the source of the Vyahrutis, the bank upon which mental, vital, and bodily action draw and turn its large and infinite wealth into small coin of the lower existence. Vijnana being the link between the divine state and the human animal is the doer of escape for man into the supranatural or divine humanity. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, inferior mankind gravitates downward from mind towards life and body. Average mankind dwells constantly in mind, limited by and looking towards life and body. Superior mankind levitates upward either to idealized mentality or to pure idea, direct truth of knowledge, and spontaneous truth of existence. Supreme mankind rises to divine beatitude, and from that level either goes upward to pure Sat and Parabrahman or remains to beatify its lower members and raise to divinity in itself and others this human existence. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the man who dwells in the higher or divine and now hidden hemisphere of the consciousness, having rent the veil, is the true Superman and the last product of that progressive self-manifestation of God in world, spirit out of matter, which is now called the principle of evolution. To rise into divine existence, force, light and bliss, and recast in that mold all mundane existence is the supreme aspiration of religion and complete practical aim of integral yoga. The aim is to realize God in the universe, but it cannot be done without realizing God transcendent of the universe, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic, the path. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the supramental yoga is at once an ascent towards God and a descent of Godhead into the embodied nature. The ascent can only be achieved by a one-centered, all-gathering upward aspiration of the soul, mind, life and body. The descent can come only by a call of the whole being towards the infinite and eternal divine. If this call and these aspirations are there, or if by any means they can be born and grow constantly and seize all the nature, then and then only a supramental uplifting and transformation becomes possible. The call and aspiration are the only first conditions. They must be along with them and brought by the effective intensity and opening of all the being to the divine and a total surrender. This opening is a throwing wide of all the nature on all its levels and in all its parts to receive into itself without limits the greater divine consciousness which is there already above and behind and englobing this mortal half-conscious existence. In the receiving, there must be no inability to contain, no breaking down of anything in the system, mind or life or nerve or body under the transmuting stress. There must be an endless receptivity and always increasing capacity to bear the ever stronger and more insistent action of the divine force. Otherwise, nothing great and permanent can be done. The yoga will end in a breakdown or an inert stoppage or a stultifying or a disastrous arrest in a process which must be absolute and integral if it is not to be a failure. But since no human system has this endless receptivity and unfailing capacity, the supramental yoga can succeed only if the divine force as it descends increases the personal power and equates the strength and receives with the force that enters from above to work in the nature. This is only possible if there is, on our part, a progressive surrender of the being into the hands of the divine. There must be a complete and never failing assent, a courageous willingness to let the divine power do with us whatever is needed for the work that has to be done. Man cannot, by his own effort, make himself more than man. The mental being cannot, by his own unaided force, change himself into supramental light. A descent of the divine nature can alone divinize the human receptacle. For the powers of our mind, life, and body are bound to their own limitations, and however high they may rise or however widely expand, they cannot rise above their natural ultimate limits or expand beyond them. But still, mental man can open to what is beyond him and call down a supramental light, truth, and power to work in him and do what the mind cannot do. If mind cannot, by effort, become what is beyond mind, supermind can descend and transform mind into its own substance. If the supramental power is allowed by man's discerning assent and vigilant surrender to act according to its own profound and subtle insight and flexible potency, it will bring about slowly or swiftly a divine transformation of our present semi-perfect nature. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, this descent, this working is not without its possibility of calamitous fall and danger. If the human mind or the vital desire seizes hold on the descending force and tries to use it according to its own limited and erring ideas or flawed and egoistic impulses, and this is inevitable in some degree, until this lower mortal has learned something of the way of that greater immortal nature, stumblings and deviations, hard and seemingly inseparable, obstacles and wounds and suffering cannot be escaped, and even death or utter downfall are not impossible. Only when the conscious, integral surrender to the divine has been learnt by mind, life, and body can the way of integral yoga become easy, straight, swift, and safe. And it must be a surrender and an opening to the divine alone and to no other. Surrender should be an opening to the divine alone and not to any other. For it is possible for an obscure mind or an impure life force in us to surrender to undivine and hostile forces and even to mistake them for the divine. There can be no more calamitous error. Therefore, surrender must be no blind and inert passivity to all influences or any influence, but sincere, conscious, vigilant, pointed to the one and the highest alone. Self-surrender to the divine and infinite mother, however difficult, remains our only effective means and our sole abiding refuge. Self-surrender to her means that our nature must be an instrument in her hands, the soul a child in the arms of the Divine Mother.